Coming up on Relatables.
Just a few days ago, we finally got around to recording the music video for Translucent.
Words left unspoken, feelings left unsaid. I'm drowning in emotions, trapped in my own head. When you look at me, I feel you look right through me. Are you even sorry? It tears me apart when I see you with her. I see you happy, but did you have to go and stab me through the heart?
The Relatables party. Relatable.
The Relatables podcast is hosted by myself, Jake Craig, aka
An artist.
and Ottie Clark, aka Mummy.
A loser artist.
A losing artist. Guys. So today is an exciting day. We would like to take a bit of accountability first. I would like to point out that it is currently, it's December 4th. And I'm pretty sure Ottie and I, if you guys have been listening for at least 9 months.
Was it 9 months?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
A long time ago, Ottie challenged me to make a song with him against each other. We both made a song. We documented the process. It's a vlog on Patreon. Go sign up if you want to watch that vlog. It's a while back. We both went and made a song individually with Toby Wells. Shout out to Toby Wells.
I think one reason, not making excuses, I was a little bit disheartened with we didn't follow up on what we're about to say, is those episodes were terribly performing.
Were they?
Yeah, they didn't do very well.
Oh.
I see that shit, and maybe that's another thing where I shouldn't look at the statistics.
Oh, okay.
Because maybe
fair.
I thought it was a really good episode.
Yeah, no, it's more about, I think if you love an episode, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we made songs. We made it this whole thing of like, we gave a snippet, and then we did like, Ottie did his full song, and then we did a snippet of mine, and then we did like my full song, and then we released them on Spotify, and you can go listen to them. And then we said, whoever gets the most streams in a month will make a music video.
Did we say 1 month or 9 months?
No. Yeah, you know, we're thinking about it actually.
Yes.
A 1 and a 9. They're not far off.
No.
All you're missing is a little curve on the top of the straight line.
Maybe we said 10 months, like the zero after. We're getting a little bit confused, and we're actually on top of things.
Yeah, so you guys kept asking, and we kept thinking, we said 9 months. That's why we were ignoring you guys. We were like, we said 9 months. But we would like to just, Ottie, can we please hear a little bit of your song?
You can. Caught in My Thoughts by Ottie Clark. What do you want me to just play it from the start, the middle? What do you want?
Yeah, just a little bit of the start.
Okay.
Thinking all the time, lost in my mind. Echoes from the past begin to form.
Oh, yeah.
Feeling like I'm being left behind.
Ooh.
Caught in my thoughts, I start to fall.
Yeah.
Caught in my thoughts,
Hey.
tangled in time.
Searching for answers I can't find.
Never leaving this.
Maze of my mind.
Caught in my thoughts,
Lost in my mind. If you ask me, how the fuck did I lose?
That is
a banger.
That is Caught in My Thoughts by Ottie Clark.
Oh, I just thought too, I just came to me. This all stems from, remember ages ago. So me and Jake have been through Jake's first parents' house setup. Then we went to this garage in like...
No, we went Jake's first, my parents' place, right, where I was living there.
Yeah.
Their house, and we set up in a corner. There was like zero design. It was just like what we had. And then we moved here, and we did go in that room.
In the
and we painted it with the black chalk paint.
I forgot about that.
Then we moved up into the garage in the corner where is sitting.
Yeah.
And we had it, and it was just literally a garage. Sometimes Ottie's car was parked in here while we were recording, and it was stinking hot in the summer, by the way.
But do you remember in that setup, I challenged you to make a song, and it was terrible. We made it ourselves because we only had like 500 listeners.
We went and made a song on GarageBand.
Yeah. We challenged each other, and you won that one as well, I'm pretty sure. So you might have a little bit of a knack for this.
Mate,
I just thought of that.
I would like to point out that when I was in the recording studio with Toby Wells, a couple of the times when I was hitting some of them notes, he was like, "Mate," he was like, "Let's go," and I was like, "But you didn't say that to Ottie, did you?"
Reflecting on my experience in the studio, I was struggling.
I had a fucking blast.
Is it tone deaf or like I don't know when to start singing like on cue?
You maybe you have poor timing, but also tone deaf is a thing.
Yeah,
but
I've got all that.
so that was Caught in My Thoughts by Oddie Clark, right? And I have a feeling. So we've explained what Oddie's song's about. It's easy to caught in my thoughts. Like Oddie's like overthink. He's caught in his thoughts. He needs to slow down. He needs to let himself breathe. And then mine was called Translucent by Jake Craig. And should we play a bit and then I'll give a quick rundown of what it was?
Yeah, let's do it.
Lost in memories of what we used to be. Everywhere I turn, you're all I see. Your laughter that knows haunting me at night. I try to move on, it doesn't feel right. When you look at me, do you look right through me? Are you even sorry? It tears me apart when I see you with her. I see you happy, but did you have to go and stab me through the heart?
Yeah.
So that is Translucent by yours truly.
I do see why you won. Yours is a lot smoother.
It's I went definitely for the people that Toby and I have listened to a bit of before we went into it was The Fray.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so mine was about, I actually wrote mine the day before I went to record it. And mine was about losing your best friend to a girlfriend, even though I also have a girlfriend. And that won.
Yeah, you won.
And so what are the streams at?
The streams are at Caught in My Thoughts by Oddie Clark is 5,066.
Really?
You pump me, but Translucent by Jake Craig is 8,820.
Fucking what? I told Harry the other day I had 3,000 listens on it.
Well, what happens in our favor is because people go back and listen to that episode.
Yeah.
And then they go and listen to the song. so it's actually like a really good system.
And so basically, when we knew for a long time I was making a music video.
Yeah.
And we kept putting it off because 1, we're lazy. 2, I was scared to do it and didn't want to do it. I never brought it up. And then 3, we're lazy. And we were a bit busy, to be fair. So just a few days ago, we finally got around to recording the music video for Translucent.
And it's good.
And we would like to, I don't want to put the audio listeners through a whole 3 minutes of me singing a song that's really not that good, but it is pretty funny. But we're going to have a link in the description of this video to go. We're going to post it on our YouTube, the full music video of Translucent. And yeah, we would just like everyone to know.
Congratulations, man. And here, I'm going to put it to the people and you.
Okay.
Just reminiscing in all this greatness. And I was thinking about myself in the studio. I'm sure you were doing the same. Should we? I actually thoroughly enjoyed it.
Same.
I sucked. It feels like you were a bit better than me, but
I hated the writing process.
if people want it, I actually like the writing. That was kind of my part that I'm good at. I'm just not good at the end goal.
Okay. You suck at what's important.
I could be one of those ghostwriters.
Facts, yeah.
But should we write a song together?
Yeah, fucking oath we should.
Should we write a song together and go? It'll probably be a New Year project.
Yeah.
And we'll go to Toby. We'll be like, we got a new song idea.
Mate, let's write an album.
So maybe if the music video gets a certain amount of likes, we'll do it. What are you thinking? Maybe we don't get that many likes.
1,000.
1,000 likes?
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Okay, shit.
Yeah, 1,000 likes.
If the music video gets 1,000 likes, me and Jake will do a song together. And in the future, there could be an album.
Yeah, guys, this could be a whole thing. What would be, quickly before we move on, what do you reckon if we were a duo, right? What do we call ourselves?
Relatables.
Oh, that's a good point. I like that name.
That's what we call
How'd you think of that?
You mean like our performing name?
Yeah. Because think about it. I've been listening to a lot of Hamish and Andy, right? And they had a thing where when they were younger, they made a band and it was called cool boys and the front man. And they had a whole thing where like they were the cool boys who all played a weird instrument, and then they had a front man they would bring in. Like they got like Guy Sebastian to be the front man one night, shit like that. And then there's the Inspired Unemployed.
Oh yeah, I know that.
They have a friend who has something, what's it called?
Big Twisty and the Funk Nasty.
Big Twisty and the Funk Nasty.
Okay.
We need to think of a name, or do we want the baddies to name us?
Oh, that's a good point. I'm
Yeah.
thinking like Ottie Clark and Ottie Clark and his bitch or something. To be fair, you're probably more of a front man. What's off the top of your head? I'm thinking, yeah. You're like Dingle. What did you used to call me?
Wait, what? Dingle and Bean.
Yeah.
What was some of the things we wanted to call ourselves before we chose Relatables? I don't even remember.
I don't even remember. It was that long ago. I don't think we landed on anything.
Nah.
I don't think we had any name.
There was no front runner.
No, there wasn't. We didn't have anything, and then you came up with Relatables. We started with Undateables.
True.
I feel like that's not really like
It's not really in our territory.
relatable at the moment.
No.
What about like, maybe we'll put it to the Facebook group for the name of like our front names.
Yeah.
Because we're obviously called Relatables.
Yeah, we need stage names.
Yeah, stage names. Yeah.
I reckon stage names, masks.
Magic Jake.
Ooh. We go masks, shirtless, right?
Yeah.
And it's like obviously very well known that this is Jake Craig and Ottie Clark from the Relatables, but
Yeah.
we pretend like we think nobody knows that it's us. And we do concerts and everything, and we are wearing masks, and yeah.
Yeah, this could be
This
onto
could be
something.
fucking fun. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I really like everyone's input. I care about everyone's opinion that listens. But if you don't think this is a good idea, I don't give a fuck, because I think this is going to be the funnest thing we've ever done.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Yeah, same.
Alrighty, everybody. I've got a little bit of a story time for you now, and a bit of our experience being in the podcast industry and the media industry. And I just want to tell everybody. So when we first started the podcast, we obviously wanted to entertain everyone, but within that, we wanted to hide a good message, or like a nice message, and maybe just leave that tiny bit of a positive impact in every single episode.
Social media, on the other hand, it highlights drama, misinformation, and the top 0.001% of people that you really shouldn't be comparing yourself to. And even though it has those bad elements, it also does bring an element of you can find your crowd like never before, in sometimes when you don't feel like you belong somewhere.
100%. And the community we're building together, we couldn't be happy with. Kind, positive, supportive dreamers, which we've really found out once we've started the Facebook group. Everyone's so kind and positive in there. And we would like to say that we love every single one of you.
And we wanted to bring up probably one of our, not probably, but definitely our best, favorite, most treasured, I'd say, experience through starting the podcast. And that was about a year ago, a little over a year ago probably. Our now really good friend Harry from Blues and Greens, who everyone knows if you've listened for even just fucking 2 weeks, he hit us up on Instagram and just told us how much he like resonated with the podcast. You know, the podcast wasn't very big yet, and he loved it, and he sent us. Harry had a Blues and Greens clothing line, and he sent us a couple items that we loved, and we were wearing them. And after that, we stayed connected, and he'd always send us little recaps of Harry was a support worker, and he had a client who just really liked the podcast, and he'd always send us like videos of the client saying hi and just areas of which the podcast he liked and stuff like that. And then, Harry just became a heaps good mate.
Yeah, and we're so grateful of the friendship that formed from that. And fast forward about 6 months later, the pod was doing good. And for us, a lot of companies were coming forward and wanting us to produce, as they like to call it, merch. But we were a little bit overwhelmed, and something in our gut was being like, something about this doesn't really feel right. It felt inauthentic and felt like a bit of like a money grab in a sense. But it's funny how the stars align, and just from catching up with Harry, and there was a little bit of a seed planted here and there. I don't know if it was Harry or us, but we said, do we want to work together for the first time, where we dropped hoodies, which was a great success. And Harry, like, you wouldn't even think to experience something like this if you worked with one of those big brands who produces merch. Harry flew from West Oz on his own accord to Sydney, stayed at Jake's house, and we had a very successful drop. But beyond anything else, we got to know each other really well. And it didn't really feel like work when we were dropping the hoodies. It was a lot of fun. We got to know each other, and we had a great time doing it.
Yeah, no, it was fucking sick, eh? And then we actually are genuinely good mates now. And I'll speak for Ottie on this. Ottie probably could say it, but Ottie went to Bali, and I didn't go last time, as everyone knows. And you know, Harry even flew over. I don't think he flew over for Ottie, but he was there for Ottie's birthday. They got to spend that Ottie's birthday together, and you know, more time. Harry's even friends with our friend Jack, who, if you've ever been a part of Patreon, you know Jack, bit of a loose cannon, but
But it's funny because social media, it's a reoccurring theme on the podcast, is so tricky to navigate, and it's so easy to get caught up in all those terrible things like likes, follows, and it's sometimes really hard to find your authentic people. But this is a good story, and just by putting ourselves out there and by Harry putting himself out there with his brand and sending us a DM, we were able to find each other, which I think social media and the online world should really highlight a lot more often, these positive, individual, personalized stories rather than these big $1 million deals and everything like that. That is what gets traction. So with that, we want to say a big hello to Harry.
Hey, thanks, boy.
He was sitting there patiently.
Patiently getting sweaty palms as you're speaking. Very sweet. And I very much agree. Like, social media as a whole is something I'm passionate about like properly being able to share my message, help to people to utilize it for a positive, because beyond like all the big negatives, the headlines and that, there's things like this where you'll never even had the opportunity to like build friendships and connect with people who you can see are like-minded, especially being in like, you're in Central Coast, I'm in Perth. They're two pretty isolated little places where you can get the comfort blanket and stay in the sameness. But it's probably been the best thing that's ever come from me, from social media, from the brand itself. So
I'd say
grateful.
what's come for something that's come from social media. I mean, to be fair, I met Beth on social media, so that's a pretty good thing. But other like from the podcast, it's fucking been honestly the sickest thing. Like yesterday, Harry and I went for a run together, and we were just like, we had stopped and we were kind of walking back as like a warm down. And I don't know how the topic came up, but I just remember saying like, thinking about it, you're our only friend now. Obviously we haven't been friends for the longest time, like friends from school, but you're our only friend that's like in the same
in the game
category.
Yeah.
All the stuff we talk about with our friends is like, if we ever see them, is kind of like, you know, what they're doing at work, tradie shit. Like they don't.
Well, the one thing I was reflecting upon, we're doing another t-shirt drop, which would have already happened as you're listening to this episode, why Harry's back. But I was reflecting, I always have my best thoughts in the shower.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about our relationship with Harry, and it's sort of cool because a lot of our friends, we've talked about it before, went the opposite approach to Harry. And as we started to get like more traction to them, we became more as less of a friend and more of like a personality online, and they started to distance themselves from us.
Yeah.
Where Harry, on the other hand, took the opposite approach of that.
He was drawn
to us, and
we're like magnets.
Yeah, he resonated with what we were saying, and rather than being like, "Oh, these guys are fucking getting traction now, I'm not going to talk to them," he was like, "Oh no, I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to give them a chance. Oh, these guys are actually kind of cool. I'm going to message them and say I think they're cool."
Yeah,
and then we we're like, "Fuck, no one's ever done that before." Especially when he messaged us that time, we probably were a third of the size we are right now.
Fuck, I think smaller than that.
I think at the time as well, it was like. And I said it in that original message, and we've gone over it before on the pod. It was like a relief for me that there was other young guys out there who were willing to share the way they actually felt online. So I was very much at that point, very much new to like my social media journey. Like I rarely was even posting at that point, and I never had the chance to look at and compare and feel like I was okay to voice how I felt. So seeing you guys have your friendship online, almost friendships that I felt like I had behind closed doors, was like a feeling of like, it almost made me feel apart and made me not feel like an outlier as such. So I was, naturally drawn to you, and you're in that position where it's like, I wanted to get to that point. Obviously different paths, and somehow now I passed over the line, but like you're already in the game, you already had built your community and built your following. So I very much looked up to that. And then naturally it's like, I came over here for the first time without meeting you, and it's like, how is it gonna happen? Like, who are these guys that are just gonna think they're the fucking top shit, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But like, it's so, and funny we say this, it ties back into our shirts, but like, it's funny how everyone just is human. And it's like, you can see these personalities online and you think that they're going to be this certain way. You think they're going to be extroverted. You think they may be a bit quiet, whatever your idea of them that you had online was. But then at the end of the day, everyone just is human, just like you. And you guys are just like two young guys who are willing to be yourselves, who are willing to like be open and like beyond any social media following. And we had this conversation today, like it actually didn't change the people you were. And if anything, it allowed you to be more of who you actually are because you had a platform to do that.
Yeah, Harry was asking me before you got here, Ottie. I think it was just something about like we were just like talking about followers. I don't know, talking about random shit. But when Harry first messaged us, it was while we were in Bali, right?
Yeah.
Or just before Bali. And I remember just like we were talking about the social media thing, and I think we had like 10K followers on Instagram. And then I do remember like when we went to Bali, we were there for 6 weeks. When we got home from Bali, we had like 70K. And then Harry was like, oh, did that ever get to your head? Like the quickness in which it just kind of like went. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it did. And I don't think it went to Ottie's head, but you would have to ask someone that's not us, I think, you know?
It's a good point.
Because like I can look at you and be like, oh, I obviously don't think it went to your head, and I don't think it went to my head, but I would think the best person to ask would be, I guess, Joanna.
Yeah, someone who's close.
She was there from the start. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I have, like, I feel like my family would call me up if I had been.
Yeah, and I think from a friend's perspective is that like they would have looked at that naively without really knowing you that well. Like, as you say, you don't see your friends that often. And they would have just seen your followers growing, and naturally would that naive mindset just being like, oh, these guys just think they're top shit now. Like, because that's how sort of boys operate, and that tall poppy syndrome mentality. But really, like, they're not even giving you a chance to.
It's also to put yourself out there online. You have to come across as a little bit full of yourself, even if you completely aren't.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, just by posting yourself, like, you come across as like, oh, this guy thinks he's the shit. No matter what you do, even for girls, this girl thinks she's the shit.
I think if you fucking post a podcast, whether or not you're doing it because you just want to do it as a hobby or you do want it to be a job one day, I think you have to have some sort of level of narcissism to think like people want to hear what I have to say. And I don't think it's an unhealthy amount. I think there's like a healthy amount of, I guess narcissism is a strong word. It's more like you kind of need to like love. Yeah. You've got to have some sort of an ego to be like, we're going to start a podcast. We're doing it because, you know, if it was a job one day, that would be the coolest thing ever. But also we think that we have conversations that are good enough that people will listen to and take something away from it.
I remember when we started, like, we said we wanted to make it work, but we never once said like we want this to be a full-time job.
Yeah, what does making it work mean?
Exactly.
I'm the same.
Yeah,
and then back on what you were saying in terms of like egos, like I feel like to be a healthy human, you got to have a level of ego about you, because there's that balance between like being egocentric where you think you're better than everyone else, but then at least knowing that you're capable of doing something, knowing that you're good enough to share the things that you believe in. Because same as me, it's like I'm putting some stuff on my social media which is like can be polarized and can make it look like I'm an expert when I don't have any tangible certificates or whatever it is. But like I myself know that I'm smart enough, full of enough knowledge, got a bit of experience, whatever, that people will want to hear what I've got to say. So it's like you got to have a level of ego to start anything online, but it's like you can't deflate it to the point where you think you're better than you actually are, and that's like that balance. Which
I think you're right. I think you also have to have an ego to do anything.
Yeah,
to
succeed at anything.
To you know, you've got to let's say you go start a company. You have to have an ego where you believe in yourself enough to get clients and like do it. Like you're gonna make money doing said thing. There's an ego in everything. I guess it's just like the way we chose to do it.
I think also though, while like we resonated with Harry and why we're in the position we are now and why Harry's in the position he is now is because, like I said at the start, we really try to hide a little bit of a nice message in every single podcast. And the same thing with like Harry's brand. Like it's so easy to just like be consumed by consumerism and make like sick hoodies that just like anyone would buy, but all Harry's clothes have a really good meaning and purpose behind them. And I don't know, is this merit like, when you do drops, you ever think like, even if I don't sell out, like I might have impacted some people?
Well, that's what I try and aim for. Like, I think the drops where I've left feeling a bit empty are the ones where it's like I know there was never really intention behind that.
There was no message behind it.
And there's times where it's like I feel so fulfilled before the drops even happen, because it's like I know that I've connected with people have messaged me, whatever. But then that's sort of what I want to I want to steer away from the clothing side of the brand and be able to centralize my brand as a whole as that, and just being able to feel like I actually am making a bit of an impact. And I think that's where, like what you're saying with you guys, you filter in a nice message in all of yous. And my brain is very like open to that type of content. So listen to you, I sort of filtered through the bullshit, like clicky stuff. Like as much as that makes me laugh and I like it, I watch all of it. But like my takeaway was always that. Like I always got the takeaway of like the positive stuff because that's what I was looking for. That's what I searched for. That's what I wanted. But then again, it's like some people see it. Some people don't see it as well as I may because that's not what they're here to come for. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, some people come for, maybe they saw us on TikTok and they think we're all entertaining.
Yeah.
And then they come on here and you never know, like they might come on a Monday or a Wednesday episode and we don't do a single entertaining thing and we just kind of have a chat and they're probably just like, what are these boring fuckers doing? What the fuck are we? This is false advertising. Fucking.
Do you know how like we're 90%, most people listening right now are female,
Yeah.
and like Harry's one of the 9% of the male audience we have. How do you think, like, I think a lot of girls listening would want their partners or men in their life to look for those good messages or that content where there is a bit of substance to take away from? And like, how do you find a guy that is Harry or the 10%, not putting you on a pedestal, but like within that 10% of like who's open-minded and willing to learn rather than the people who are just consuming gambling and horse racing and footy podcasts?
From the outside looking in, I think the easiest way is to like look at the type of people they spend their time with because as cliche it is, but the people you spend your time with is who you sort of become. So if you're looking for a man and he's spending the time with guys who are doing a lot of that, but he's trying to tell you that he's not like that, more often than not he probably is. But in terms of specifics,
it's a cliche setting, like I'm not like other guys.
Yeah. Why did you start? Like, I used trying to. I've somewhat asked you off camera, but not a whole lot. Like, are you trying to target more guys consciously? Like, what is your really like?
No.
What made you want to start it though? Because it is very much about like that positivity. So like,
do
you have like a driving thing that makes you want to continue to do that, or is it?
The start was initially to normalize men being able to talk about their feelings, and it's shifted to more voicing and normalizing. It's a simple concept, treating women equally. Like,
I think, I reckon what happened was like, I remember Ottie saying he wanted to start the podcast. It was a pretty classic, like, bro, let's start a podcast. And we might have even been at the gym. Yeah. And I can't say I've ever thought of starting one. A couple of years before we started it, I actually was keen to kind of like, I wanted to make YouTube videos. And I had a girlfriend at the time that was like, and I started to make some videos and she was like, you've changed. And I was like, okay, I'll stop.
I've grown.
I was like, I'll stop. It's like, I'm changing as a person. Yeah. Yes, I have grown. And so, then I stopped and it's just like one of those things, like I never would have done it without Ottie, doing it with.
There's a sense of security doing it with a friend.
That's why I love doing it with you guys.
Yeah.
Beyond anything, it's like you're having fun.
Security blanket.
You can't lose in that sense as well. And it's,
But yeah, it's funny. Like I reckon we started it off. I remember. I even remembered like the first episode. Like we did say, like I think we spoke about it, and when Ottie had the idea, he was like, I think we actually talk about kind of real shit instead of just girls. We talk about actually something that we would like to see in our future. What are we gonna do to like when we traveled together. I actually only like a month ago got rid of this in my notes, by the way. We literally had like, I think if we didn't do this, Ottie and I were going to start a company, right? The first ever one we had in mind was we wanted to, well, Ottie did do, he did one called Blurred Reality and it was going to be a clothing, but he did, he sold, you sold surfboard fins for a bit.
I sold surfboard fins. I actually sold out of them. That was a good business plan.
And then when Ottie and I were traveling together, we came up with this whole plan of we wanted to open like the sickest bar ever. Because at the time we were both still drinking and we would party a bit. We wanted to open the sickest bar ever. And we had like, we were traveling and we'd go to new bars and something that we loved in that bar, we'd write down in our notes that we wanted to add into our bar. And it was fucking so funny. And then we, only like a month or two ago, I saw that note and deleted it because I was cleaning out my notes out.
I think also another like driving factor was I think it's why we obviously were good friends, but I could see it in Jake as well. Like we both hadn't found our calling at all. And like we found our calling purely by luck, just by doing this and putting ourselves in this situation that we found something we love. Yeah. And that's also why it worked, because I think a lot of people like sort of, not necessarily half-assed, maybe it's not the right word, but they don't go full commit into something. Whereas we literally went like full
deep as possible. I said, let's do it for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think because there was an underlying factor of like realness and a good meaning behind the pod, that's why it sort of worked. We weren't just like surface level substance boys who crack open a beer and then talk about fucking...
Yeah, like we spoke about, I remember talking about I was like, well, what will we talk about? And I remember Ottie was like, well, we do have a lot of stories of going out with mates that we will talk about, right? And we did at the start.
Like episode 1.
Episode 1. No, that's what we wanted. We did want to have segments where we were like entertaining, talking about who we are and what we've done.
Yeah.
And then I think like it would even just be like, we would title a segment like, this one is going to be called Camping with the Boys. And then we would talk about camping experiences. And then I think we might have talked, one might have been like, you know, what do you do when your friend's got a sister that's fucking hot? Stupid shit like that. But then in every episode, we would make sure, I'm pretty sure we would make sure we called it. We said, like, okay, guys, this is going to be a deep segment. And we would talk about something kind of deep for a while. Yep. It's quite often Ottie bringing it up. Yep. And then I would sometimes bring a deep segment to the table. Really? And then, we did from start to, and then what we thought was like, we'll get the guys by talking about the guy stuff. And then we'll keep the guys by talking about the feeling stuff, you know? Like how we feel about things.
And get what you want to get out of it by incorporating that in.
And then
we never got the guys.
We never got the guys. Some females started listening, and then it compounded.
It hurts my soul a little bit because I know, looking back, like hindsight's a bitch, and it's definitely we needed to do all that. That was our journey. But people still start on episode 1. And I know the exact fucking story I told, and it's like so cringe of me telling it. Like I'm just such a like I think what would have we been 22, 21, and it's me going home with a girl, and I'm just like, oh, why is that the first one?
I mean, you gotta do it. I feel like I'm pretty sure we got a girl on the phone that I had a one night stand with.
Yeah,
and Ottie was like, "So was my man a gentleman?" I'm pretty sure we did that.
To be fair, that's a good question.
It's a good question to ask, actually. And she was like, "He kind of was."
Yeah. I think that also shows like character development in ourselves and gives like hope for that men out there can find like their people and us. And I think purely by us sitting down, I remember one of the other reasons it worked is I always said worst case scenario, it was at the time it was 1 episode a week. I get to sit down and talk to my best friend for a week.
Yeah.
And we got really good at talking. It's in a way it was a therapy session with unqualified therapists.
Yeah.
And we were forced to talk about our feelings, and you'd rack the back of your brain thinking about what was I feeling like this week? What can I tell Jake about? I'm sure you were doing the same.
You know what's hilarious?
Yeah.
In hindsight, back then, I bet you we struggled to think of content. If I have my brain now, back then, doing 1 episode a week, I'd be like, I got too much content, Ottie. We have to add another. And now, because we do the multiple, it's like, Ottie, what are we going to talk about?
Well, that's like when people say wisdom's wasted on the old, where it's like you have all this wisdom when you're older, but like you need it when you're young, when all the ideas are fresh and that. But
wisdom's wasted on the old is the sickest saying. I've never heard that.
And then the other one's youth is wasted on the young. So
Facts,
bro. That's like flipping them both around.
Because the elderly want to be young again because they're like, I regret everything.
But like it's all part of your journey at the end of the day. Like very much to like the body count conversation you're having is like you got to go through all this shit.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, you got to go through all this shit to become where you are today. And it's easy to look back. And like when I brought up yesterday, when I was like, I'm going to put the episode on, you said, if you put it on, I'm leaving. But
he went to go listen to our first episode, and I was like, I'll actually go brush my teeth and go to bed.
and he got real salty. I was like, fuck, he's actually being serious. But it's like, you got to go. I'm the same with my Instagram videos. I look back at that and like, I cringe watching it. I'm like, that guy looks like he's got a gun held to his face. But I know for sure in a year's time, I'll do the exact same thing looking back on me now, and likewise for you guys. But like, you got to go through that thing. And I think for anything, it's like an opportunity for you guys to be like, holy fuck, like it's a way to look back and be proud of yourselves.
Well, we have a genuine, so we have a clear archive of growth. Of how we've changed as people.
And you have that for the rest of your life. And I was saying that to you today. It's like when you're filming those vlogs and that and you put them on Patreon, although not many people may be seeing them because it's like your top tier on Patreon, but like that's there forever. And that's like a capsule.
I was thinking that for our kids.
Ever. And your kids,
we just went to LA.
Yeah, your kids are going to be able to watch
we were talking about funny shit. And we were like talking about it. We just were like in an Airbnb, and Ottie goes like, oh, you know, when we post these vlogs, like we've done some with our girlfriends and stuff. And I was thinking, like, what if you're older and you know, God forbid you and Cassie break up and you end up marrying someone else and you have kids with them, and then your kids go find your vlogs, right? And then your kid comes up to you one day and goes, Dad, who's Cassie? And you just be like,
don't mention
the good old days.
Don't mention that name again.
Like, oh,
don't ever mention that.
She's the one that got away.
Let me tell you how I met your mother.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, it's actually pretty funny. So it feels like we've known each other forever.
Yeah.
We haven't,
But
obviously.
for me and you, I was thinking about this as well. Like this morning when I was journaling, I was thinking the exact same thing. It feels like we've known each other forever, but like like last time I came here, I was here for a week. So I spent 24 hours staying at your house. Same again this time. It's like, there's not many friends. Like I got a core group of friends who are like my best friends. I've got 3 or 4 of them who are like, will be with me till my grave. Beyond that, there's not many people in my whole life who I've spent that much time with. Because it's like, usually with your mates, you go on like the weekends when you're pissed, or you do a little coffee here and there, or a swim here and there. But like it feels like that because we've had the opportunity to like see fucking, you know what I mean, all hours of the day.
Yeah,
so
it's really
it
funny.
has advanced quickly.
I was thinking it's funny because the first time you ever came, right, was when we had samples of the hoodies we were about to drop. Yeah. We were going to drop them in like a month or 2.
I stayed for a night.
And you came and you stayed for 1 or 2 nights.
I think it was 1 night, yeah.
And I remember like when you were talking about coming, you said, I'll get here this day. And then you were like, I'm going to go stay with a friend in Canberra. I'm going to fly in from Canberra in the morning. And then like at the time, like we knew each other from like FaceTime calls and stuff like that. But we didn't like, us 3 we didn't know, like you didn't know us. And we
it was very much transactional.
We didn't know you. Yeah. It was very transactional
and
at the
time. It could have
yes.
just been business and gone.
And then it was like, I remember thinking in my head, well, fuck, should I just offer for him to stay here? Because you were going to stay somewhere in Sydney with a friend. Yeah. And I think I remember asking you like, have you sorted that or whatever? And you're like, no, not yet. And I was like, fuck, like, do I invite this random guy to my house? I fully remember it.
Yeah.
And then like I did, obviously no regrets.
Yeah.
But I just think it's so funny that just like kind of was like, oh, do I?
Yeah, I remember
at the time I was like, and now I'm thinking like, well, fuck, I can't believe I thought.
I remember the first time when I stayed here when we were sitting here with the double reversible hoodie samples, and I was like, it was getting late. I knew I was planning on coming up and going straight back down, and I was like, fuck, I reckon I don't know if I'm going to be able to get on this flight tonight. Like we're getting pretty late, and I can't remember what I was planning on doing, but then you offered to stay if I wanted, and I was like, although I was always going to do it, but I was like, fuck, as if he like offered. That's
I know.
I was like kind of rattled.
I just think it's so funny. Yeah, just like you offer some random to stay, and then but yeah,
taking it like round circle. I guess the last like 9 months of the podcast, we like to be transparent with our journey. We mentioned it the other day, got a little bit lost in, like Harry said, the transactional side of making money on the podcast and trying to make everybody happy. And like I said in that little spill at the start, it's like we could have easily just said, oh, someone do you merch? We ticked the box, yep, that's good, and sold it. And something we're learning in real time right now is, we say it on the pod all the time, is like to trust your gut. And more recently for us is a lot of the decisions we're making aren't necessarily the most logical, because this wasn't logical to say to some random guy that's messaged us on Messenger and called up with our pod, do you want to do our merch?
Yeah, and sent you a few hoodies.
Yeah. Like there was no logic in that. Like the logical thing would have been to do with the company in Sydney who offered us, and we would have ticked a box.
And it would have been cheap. They would have packed
Shit
everything.
quality.
Yeah.
Everything. That's the most logical thing.
Yeah.
We were like, fuck that.
Yeah.
We were with a management company that was pushing us to do that. They're like, they're asking us, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? We'll do everything for you. All you have to do is promote it.
Yeah, like
and we were like, nah, let us do it.
This was a lot more work, and I'm so grateful it is. And maybe the reward of monetary wasn't as good, but I don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
You don't do, I don't look at this as a money thing.
Yeah, like we're learning, especially like now, and this is probably the first thing we done unconsciously, that we trusted our gut, and we're taking that more into our transactional side of business with the pod, where like everything's not about money, which is obviously simple, but it's easy to get caught up in that world of like someone's saying, this is how much money you'll make. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should do it, or maybe I shouldn't. That would be nice. And then like, it's just trusting that little thing in the back of your head or in your gut. And you're just like, I'm so grateful that we did that. And
100%.
just said, you want to do our hoodie to some random bloke?
Here's a question for you, Harry.
So go on.
We were talking a couple of weeks ago, I think, about, it could have been the episode where we talked about what's challenging you right now. And I remember bringing up something on a podcast I listened to, Shits and Gigs, where one of the guys said like, they don't really ever get deep. Like they're pretty just much comedy, right? But they kind of got deep, and he was like, fuck, we're deep right now. But one of them said, when we first started the podcast, they're huge now, but he was like, when we first started, we took nothing seriously, right? Like life is not that serious. And it sounds like the most cliche saying. And he's like, but when we were there, we lived by that saying as life's not that serious. Like, you know, we just had the most fun ever. And he said, the more successful their podcast have gotten is the more serious he has gotten.
Facts.
And then, so I was thinking like Ottie and I like kind of had to check ourselves in a sense of like, because our podcast is getting a bit more serious and successful. We have become more serious. Like, well, now, you know, we really need to give someone something each episode. And so I think we put so much pressure on ourselves. And someone wrote a really nice message, Felicity Pascoe. Shout out to Felicity Pascoe. She's definitely becoming an admin of the Facebook group. She just heaps nice message saying something like, yeah, I missed the days where you guys fucking would just ramble on about shit you loved. Like, I've heard Ottie a couple times even say like, you know, let's get on to the next topic. Like, this is boring. Like, and even if we loved talking about it. And I think like it just in the last 9 months has showed that we still love it and enjoy it, but we've unintentionally turned it into like something that we feel like we owe. It's hard to explain, but have you ever felt like that in your like, did you start off thinking like this is something that's like maybe we'll never take off, so it's just like it's not that serious, it's just fun, and then do you feel different now?
100%. I totally get what you mean, and we like I can see from your standpoint, even as a viewer, I could see that transition period, but I very much start things. And like I have so much self-belief that I know it's going to work out. But in that sense, it's like, I think for me, the way I relate to that is I put a lot of pressure on myself and thinking that I need results or I need
That's relatable. We're putting pressure on yourself.
Yeah, to do like X amount of work. So it's like where I lose the seriousness and the fun side of it is like, there's days where I would like work 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever. And I fucking love it. Like, don't get me wrong. But then I do that constantly. And then there's some days where I sit and reflect and I'm like, I've got this flexibility where I'm working for myself, like any hour that I want from home, but like, and that's something that I dreamt of. And like earlier on in the year, I was like doing 3 days with like support work as well. And the days where I wasn't doing support work, I'd utilize that flexibility. But then for the last few months, I've just been like a robot at my desk, getting so much done, working hard towards things that I'm launching for next year. But then I reflect and I'm like, the thing that I craved so much to be able to become full-time on Blues and Greens was how much flexibility I was going to get. But the more I went hard on Blues and Greens, the less flexibility I gave myself because I wasn't willing to get up from my desk. So all the things that I wanted to do, all the dreams and the visions that I had of Blues and Greens going full-time was me sitting at fucking cafe, drinking coffee, working by the beach.
Facts, bro.
All that shit.
Ottie and I had the same.
Yeah. And I was like, that was a vision that I would see as myself when I was working, and I was like, I can't wait to go full time. Life's gonna be so fucking good. But then the more it got serious, the more serious I spent, and the more things I realized I'm not sacrificing that because I'm serious on Blues and Greens. It's my thing now, and I didn't actually I'm not really giving myself flexibility. So things like tracing it back to where I am today is like, I'm here at your house for a week, and I don't know when I'm going to be here again. And like, this is like a rare opportunity for me. And I've had a voice in the back of my head so many times whilst I've been here telling me to just go sit at a desk and just lock in and do work. But then my realist mindset, or what I'm trying to tell myself, is like, this is like a rare opportunity where you've gotten the flexibility. This is the flexibility you've craved. And like, enjoy these moments of just like sitting on the couch watching Netflix, sitting out talking to you and Beth,
Lincoln Lawyer,
doing things like sitting in on the podcast, like making the most of these opportunities which aren't there for me day to day. And it's like, I know when I go home on the weekend, when I go home next week, that I can fucking sit at my desk for however many fucking hours I want. Like, this is the flexibility that I craved, and I'm trying to tell myself, like, make the most of these moments, because back to what you were saying before about how you could have gone to the cheap merch and things like that, but it's like, opportunities like that are always going to be there for you, and you are very much at your startup journey. And you're always going to have the opportunity for quick money grabs, things like that. But like, the opportunity to do something that is purely based off connection, opportunity to grow friendships, they're like windows that just will close so quickly. So I'm sure you look back on that and like, don't regret that at all, as do I. And I'm just trying to remind myself of like, what do I want life to be? Do I want it to be at my desk, or do I want it to be a mix of setting my future up as well as enjoying the now?
It's so hard to balance living in the present moment and thinking about your future and the business's future, or anyone who's studying, like thinking about the end goal rather than thinking about what you're doing right now. And yeah, giving yourself a break, I think. That's one thing I need to work on, is everything I'm doing is cool and good, and I love the grind. But I also am really bad at like taking a step back and chilling and appreciating that. And like I can see like I'm obviously going to work on it a lot, but I just don't want to get to that position where I'm like 40 or 50 and I've done all this cool stuff, and I'm like, where'd the time go?
Yeah,
like I didn't even appreciate it. Yeah,
I reckon I could talk about that for literally a year straight, non-stop. Don't turn off the cameras, don't turn them on. I reckon for a year I could ramble on about that.
I got a question, Harry, for you to finish on.
Yeah.
Because you live in Western Australia, which for anyone who doesn't live in Australia is so far away from
It's a different
Sydney.
country.
It's so far away.
So,
If
We could fly to New Zealand quicker than Perth.
and I can fly to Bali quicker than I can fucking
If Jake and I say were to move somewhere, would you be more inclined? I know you've said you wanted to get out of the Perth, Western Australian bubble. Would you be inclined to come like a groupie near us?
Yeah, me and Jake have spoken about this.
Funny you say that. We've spoken about this, Harry and I.
100%. I think I'm crying, like, not crying out. I'm very
I need him.
Yeah, I fucking I love it at home. But like for a while, I've been searching for an opportunity. I didn't want to rush moving out.
Yeah.
But I've been searching for an opportunity. I was going to move with my mate in Goldie, then he ended up moving home. But yeah, when like an opportunity comes, I'd fucking snap at it for sure.
Beauty.
Because I know that'd be right, and I know we'd get the best out of each other.
Guys, future. Look towards the future.
Just keep listening and you'll find out.
You can see a relatables blues and greens.
But
something.
Overall, if you're listening, the shirts have dropped. Hopefully they've sold out.
They have sold out.
They've sold out. We've manifested that.
So unfortunately, if you haven't got one now, you can't get one. They're all gone.
But overall, thank you for supporting us along this journey throughout the whole podcast.
You want your little present before we...
Oh, yeah.
To finish on this present, eh?
Harry said he's got presents for us.
I got a small little present for the lads. And if you're not listening, I mean, if you're not watching, they're wrapped up in a sock because I got here and didn't realize they were present. So they can probably see... I can't remember what
I think we can
called.
see the shape. I hope
You can
it's
see the
not
shape.
what I think it
Okay,
is.
This is Jake's one.
It looks like a mug.
This is Ottie's one.
Sounds like a mug.
I was going to say it looks like
What did you think it was?
what I think it was.
Yeah. Just a little token. Just
Jake's not a big thinker. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fucking sick.
I love relatables.
So that could be saying that Jake was talking about how he wants to accessorize the studio a little bit more.
Oh,
So I think that could be saying
that is sick. Mine says I love relatables with an R on the front and it's red. And Jake?
Mine says pickle juice consumption device. This is amazing.
So
I've
That's
never seen
sick.
anything cooler than this.
That's sick. I'll
Simple
drink
things.
my Milo out of it and Jake will have
Thank
some
you
coffee.
so much.
I was thinking about Ottie and I was like, is he going to get as much use out of it? Because the fucking little...
I'll put that here in my room. I like that. Yeah,
that's so good.
That's sick. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you. Hopefully
And-
you haven't worn these. No, this is the Qantas socks. It's the
I
Qantas
got my
socks.
business class.
Oh, you flow business?
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Must be nice. Hey, well, sorry. See you guys. Good to listen.
Keep the sock. I know you like socks, mate.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later.